Tappa, 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 I'm a working boy. Tappa, 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 here's my article about how this politician is Hitler. Hit submit. I'm so glad I got a good salary corrupting the youth of middle America. Now I can use my money, my generous salary, to buy more enemas. Yay me! That is your average clickbait journalism website, whatever you want to call it. That is your average BuzzFeed Upworthy employee and any other clickbait website you can possibly think of. And there are a lot. There's one for every niche interest. There's probably like a queer person of color feminist clickbait website. And if it's not, well, you want to make some money, there you go. I just gave you a $100,000 idea. Take it, it's yours. And the reason why I'm bringing this up, I was going to tell this story on an episode of Common Filth Radio, but then I realized I'd be giving this poof attention, unnecessary attention, publicity. I saw something in my Twitter feed a couple of months ago, and the author of this tweet that I saw, somebody retweeted it, somebody who I follow. They retweeted it, and it was of a girl defending selfies, and how she did this, how she did it, like, look, we're not narcissistic. Girls aren't narcissistic because they post selfies. She's making that argument. And what she used to make that argument was a self-portrait of Van Gogh. She compared that to a picture that she takes on her phone. And when I saw this, I thought to myself, this is the most exemplary thing, the most exemplary piece of thought, of expression that I've ever seen when it comes to the psychology, the mindset, the impulses of relatively young people. So I couldn't pass this up. I had to retweet and quote tweet it. And I said, I just gave my commentary. Golden Retriever girl compares her selfies to the works of Van Gogh. And shortly after that appears someone in my notifications, this real piece of work, this guy who's holding up a cat who has a very urban haircut, very urbanite, very sophisticated haircut that tells people that the wearer of it, their favored lubricant is Crisco. And this subhuman asks me, "What's a golden retriever girl? I want to write an article about it." I did what any self-respecting man would do and ignored it. I ignored it, hoping it would go away. And then a day later, it pops up again. "What's a golden retriever girl?" So I hover over the name on it. And this guy's an editor for BuzzFeed. His account is verified despite the fact that he has less followers than I do. I don't know how that works, but he asks me again. And when I saw that he worked for BuzzFeed, I'm like, I'm not talking to these people. It wouldn't be the first time that something I did or said, it's not even a term I invented. It's not the first time it would be featured in some bullshit clickbait website. One of my pages back in 2014 was featured on the Daily Dot. And then a couple of days later, he says, "I know you've seen my messages. Why aren't you answering me?" Again, I ignored it. In that period of however many days, however long it was, I learned how the clickbait industry works. I learned how they get their subject matter. And how they get their subject matter is harassing strangers on the internet who insult them. Or they get it from someone who is very eager to have their name dropped in a piece of shit article on a website they read regularly. 20 reasons why cis-sexism is wrong. 20 reasons why transphobia should be illegal. 69 reasons why I'm a disgusting faggot. And this is what these websites, this is what your sisters are reading, this is what your cousins are reading. This is what this is their education. This is what they think culture is. not becoming something themselves or getting in touch with their roots. They think that some anal aviator who talks about how it's wrong to be this phobic and compares politicians to Hitler because that's never been done before. They think that's culture. They think this shit that's been digested hundreds of times over. That's what they relate to. That's how they have a shared experience with one another, these young people. So keep that in mind when one of your younger siblings starts droning on about some bullshit. 1,200 followers and you are a verified account. I guess if you are a wage slave anal aviator churning out filth for the world to read, I guess you get respected from the powers that be by doing that. That's very worthy of respect. I wonder what percentage of that guy's income goes towards Crisco, towards enemas, and what was that guy's name? Michael Lucas. Yeah, his videos. He's a wonderful artist, and he's so socially responsible. Anyway, people aren't like me. People aren't like you. We don't get millions and millions of people, millions and millions of eyeballs on our material, we don't get millions of ear holes. We don't get millions of brains. We don't, because people don't want to hear it. People want easily digestible bullshit. People want to hear the shit they learned in college just in a poppier, more fun kind of format. We are the extreme minority. I've talked enough about this, however, so we will move on. In a bit of a follow-up from Common Filth Radio episode 66, where I read a post about a guy who thought it was a good idea to lose his virginity to a tranny on Grindr. So this was from Volcano Demon on Twitter, and it's another 4chan screenshot, and it's a similar kind of story. So we're going to read it to provide ourselves with more evidence that this attitude, this behavior is held by an amount of people that is closer to majority than minority, that is closer to plurality than minority. Either one. I guarantee you there are like 60 million people out there like this. Now, you might be thinking that's really high, that's a lot. Well, where there's one, there's many. And I have over 3,500 screenshots in my Tumblr screenshot folder, many of which have thousands and thousands and thousands of notes. So if you add all of this stuff together, the world becomes a much more terrifying place. The world is only tolerable because it wears a mask, because maybe some people feel guilty about it. But once they reach that tipping point, they'll remove their masks, they will attack, and we'll all be fucked. So they'll be too distracted coming. Maybe that's what's saving us. That I'd kill you, but this feels really good, and I don't want to go to jail. Even though they wouldn't, they'd get off with some slap on the wrist. Because judges, law enforcement, they're all hell-bent on enabling this shit in the end. Look who's in charge of it. And hold on, one more distraction. For Muslims in military, a different America than one they swore to defend. Oh, tell that to the 95 IQ Arkansas hick who works some pencil-pushing, abstract office job in the military and has to put up with the worst freaks imaginable. Because that's what government employment attracts. And isn't there like a really high-ranking military official who's openly gay now? I think I saw that on Drudge Report. So yeah, ask him about the America he swore to defend. Or maybe he's rationalizing it as a good thing. These are my fellow Americans. I don't care if they like ass sex, because I like ass sex too. Okay, back to the Back to the Volcano Demon. Yes, from Twitter. Volcano Demon sent me this. So I just lost my virginity to a transsexual prostitute, and I don't know if I should be proud I worked up the courage to or ashamed of what went down. And then he goes into this story. Be me last night. 2 weeks away from turning 21. Don't want to be that 21-year-old who has never had sex. Resolved myself to fuck a prostitute. Originally planned to fuck a girl, but then came across this one listing. As far as trannies go, she's a 9 out of 10. She. And he'll continue to refer to this demon as she. Brazilian, proper tits, hot face, narrowish shoulders. Only turn off was the big hands. Decide to just visit her since I've had a tranny fetish for years. Oh my. Look, I'm getting a cough just from reading this. I'm coming down with something just from repeating what I see on my screen. Had a tranny fetish for years. This guy is 20, almost 21. Years would imply 2 or 3 years, maybe even 4, maybe even 5. So this guy's had a tranny fetish since he was a teenager, since he was in high school. Where was I? Okay. After downing some vodka for courage, call her to make an appointment. 30 minutes later, I'm at her apartment. Tell her this is my first time and asked if she could take the lead. She smiles and says, sure, just tell me what you're into. Pause. Realize this might be my only chance to live out my domination fantasy. Tell her to just be real rough with me and dominate me. Make me her slave. Afraid she'd be weirded out, but she seems happy. Exact words. Quote, it's not every day I get to dominate a virgin. Unquote. Feel relaxed that she isn't repulsed by my virginity and think all will be okay. What follows is 20 minutes of extremely degrading and horrible sex followed by 10 minutes of humiliation. As soon as I get naked, she pretty much rapes me for 20 minutes telling me what to do. It was not how I had pictured it. Oh, life isn't like a very carefully constructed pornography movie. I am ever so shocked. See, a cough again. This is making me sick to read this. I was in so much pain, both physically and emotionally, but too afraid to tell her to stop. Literally butt-fucked for a good 10 minutes. Pure agony. After she finished, she jacked me off. As I get up to leave, she pushes me back on the bed, saying there's 10 minutes left. She's into this domination. Literally forces me to live on her bed. Live on her bed. Probably lay on her bed. And suck her balls suck her balls. A sentence I never thought I would ever read. Words I never thought I would combine in that sentence. In that sequence, rather. Suck her balls for 20 minutes while she verbally abuses me. What did I say about inversion and living in an age of moral inversion? Suck her balls. Her balls! While she verbally abuses me. Come home and cry myself to sleep, wake up, post this. Don't ever give in to the tranny fetish, robots. It's not worth it. Before this, I could probably maybe pass as a normie sometimes, but now I am irreversibly emotionally damaged. That was another cough trying to come out. See, told you, getting sick. And then, my ass still fucking hurts. I will never be able to forget that. Fuck you to all the tranny trip fags who promote anal sex. And somebody asks, wait, so you got fucked by the tranny? Yes. By the time the ordeal started, I had been completely cured of my tranny fetish. I just wanted it to be over. I had no desire to fuck her the moment she started abusing me. It's not how you picture kinky sex. It is horrible. This dipshit, this depraved dipshit, who deserves it, by the way. This is what you get. This is what you get when you make mistake after mistake after mistake. You say the mistake, you might think the mistake was, oh, he went to this tranny. He went to this tranny's house. Think of all the mistakes that led up to that. This is a person who probably lived a life of extreme isolation. who spent all of his time on the internet, looking at this shit, getting into more and more depraved shit, progressively more depraved shit. You know, the internet's been around for a while. It's been in the mainstream for a while. It is a part of the culture at this point. And we are now seeing what it creates, how people use it, what that creates, the usage of it, how young people use the internet creates a psychosis that is carried out in some manifestation outside of the computer screen. This guy didn't mention, the screenshot rather doesn't mention anything about it, but it is more likely than not that he has some sort of STD now. All because he let the internet convince him that girls can have penises. And like I just said, it's not just the one fuck up. Many, many fuck ups. Becoming socially isolated, living your life through a computer screen, looking at progressively more depraved pornography, rewiring your brain so that you think that that your genes can be passed on through having sex with something else with a penis. A equals A. I have penis, they have penis, that means we're compatible. Yeah, the faggotry is a form of autism, I'm convinced. Their brains become so warped that their sexual impulses are now redirected towards the biologically incompatible. And like I said before, this dysfunction does not happen in a vacuum. Other parts of the brain are affected and lead to other dysfunctions. And you might say, well, what if it's just that one thing? Well, it is still a depraved impulse to have. Nothing can change that. It's an impossible scenario anyway. There's no such thing as just, oh, it's just a quirk. It's just a little different, whatever. As we've seen from domestic violence studies, as we've seen from HIV statistics, as we've seen from Tumblr screenshots I've collected and put in the various episodes of Tumblristas Raw. And this is what your young people view as preferable. This is the company they want to keep. This is the company they brag about keeping. And it's not just young people. It's like an age range from like 9 to 40, we'll say, with very few exceptions. I knew this real depraved degenerate on Facebook a while ago. I had him added as a friend for some reason. And he's like, he reminds me exactly of this fella in this 4chan screenshot. And this is a guy who would post videos of himself on the toilet, making very loud shitting sounds and grunting and like showing pains of expressions of pain on his face. He's like, yeah, I'm bleeding. He'd wipe, it's just, he says he'd wipe and there'd be blood and shit, and he'd post videos of this stuff. And he babysat kids. And he posted once, gays aren't sex-obsessed perverts. Look, here's the watch history of this kid I'm babysitting. And they were all of gay people. And it was all about the gross details of how they do what they do. And these are videos being watched by kids who have ages in the single digits. And this fucking piece of work, and this is what you're allowing your children to be around. You're allowing this freak to babysit your children, this teenage fuckhead who brags about being in gay relationships and being in slave master relationships with girls he knows over the internet. And that's the real face of it. That's the real face of deviancy. So from 9 to 40, this is the company people want to keep. I had my sister, she showed me some yaoi her faggot friend drew. She's like, isn't this nice? Isn't this nice? Getting HIV from a tranny hooker. Getting HIV from a tranny on Grindr. Exposing your unique perversion to 9-year-olds. That's nice. That's what people from 9 to 40, that's what they think is nice. And before anyone asks, no, my sister is not 40 years old. I'm talking about like the Sex and the City type ladies. I still got it. Ooh, look, I have gay friends. That kind of thing. I can tolerate the juxtaposition of sitting in a Denny's at 11 at night while 50s malt shop music plays over their PA system, and the Mexican teenagers walking in, getting a bite to eat. I can take that kind of alien. It's not necessarily dangerous. It's not necessarily soul destroying. But the kind of alien you feel when your family it worships the unacceptable. I don't know how to deal with that. That to me is true alienation. That to me is worse than anything multiculturalism can produce.